It was raining. I looked like I reverse peed myself. I just got home. I got out of the movie. It was raining. I walked there. I walked home in the rain. So not only am I cold, not only am I wet, but I'm tired. And I saw the movie Black Widow. All right. I changed into my jammies. I li- that wasn't fake. I swear to God. All right. Yeah, I saw Black Widow. I guess let's determine the spoilers I'm gonna get into. Um, I'm gonna say right now that like there really aren't like big MCU spoilers in the movie. You know, like the only thing that really could be spoiled about the movie like is all self-contained within the movie Black Widow. You get what I mean? Like it's not like you're gonna have any big like MCU revelations like in fucking Civil War when you found out that like Bucky is the one who killed Tony's parents. There's nothing like that in this movie. All of like the twists are like within the self-contained story that is Black Widow. So if you don't really care about the story of Black Widow, then you're fine. That's all I'm really going to talk about. There is a post-credit scene that kind of connects a little bit into the MCU at large, and I will let you know when I'm going to talk about that. So if you're really concerned about that, I'll let you know. Don't worry. Otherwise, I'm just going to talk about the plot of the movie. Um, honest, like there's nothing to be concerned about having spoiled. You know what I mean? It's like it's not that big a deal. It's very self-contained, and I'll get into that later. But that was kind of one of the problems I had with it. So let's talk Turkey. Let's talk Black Widow. I didn't really care for it. It was inoffensive. I guess it just the more I think about it, like the less. Whoa, bud! Hi. He's clawing the. I don't know if you can see it. I'm trying to see. Oh my God! Why are you attacking me? I'm being attacked. It was fine. It just missed the mark for me. You know, it just didn't land for me. I guess I'll start with compliments because I don't want to be negative right off the bat. No, I didn't hate it. I didn't despise it. You know, Florence Pugh steals the show. It's like it's her movie. She's by far like the most watchable thing about the movie. She's funny. Honestly, like her character felt more dynamic than Natasha's character. She was good, and David Harbour as Red Guardian Alexei, whatever the fuck his name was. He was good too. He was funny. I get that's that's like the best thing I can say about the movie is like the spots of humor that it had, because otherwise it just feels so bleh. You know, it just feels so done. It feels so been there, done that. Like I'm talking compliments right now. I'm sorry. So yeah, spots of humor were good. Good stunt work. You could tell the stunt people were really on their shit. The score was pretty good. Uh, since they're Russian and like it's like this covert Russian operation. Like the score kind of like has like hints of like Soviet era music in there. That was kind of cool. Oh, it was shot well. Cinematography was pretty good. There were some decent shots. Bro, that's like it, dude. All right. I'm done holding back. I'm just gonna let the floodgates pour out. It was just bleh, you know. It was so what? You get what I mean? It's just like you're watching like it's like 2 hours and 15 minutes long, and you're sitting there and you're like, I was sitting there thinking like, where did that runtime go? Because I don't care about any of these characters, but we've been watching them for like 2 hours and 15 minutes. It's like, where did that like? There's not any like extensive big fight scenes. Like there's like one big set piece in like the first third of the film, and that's like it. It's like where did all that time go? Which kind of segues me into the fact that I don't care specifically about Natasha, and it's her fucking movie. It starts off promisingly. I guess I'll talk a little bit about the plot. It takes place right immediately after Captain America Civil War. Like immediately after, she's on the run from Thunderbolt Ross because she flipped sides during the airport fight. If you've seen Civil War, she flipped sides. So the U.S. government is trying to arrest her, and she's on the run. So she goes into hiding, and then she somehow. Wait, how the fuck does she? She's like somehow ends up with like the MacGuffin of the film. It's like this gas that can undo mind control for the widows, the Black Widow agents. Somehow she ends up with it. I guess it's implied that her sister Florence Pugh like planted it on her, but we don't. Like one scene, we see Florence Pugh with the gas, and then the next scene, Natasha is off hiding somewhere, not really sure where, and she suddenly has the gas mysteriously in the trunk of her car. And she doesn't know how it got there. We don't know how it got there. We didn't see Florence Pugh put it there. Florence Pugh is still in Budapest. How did it get there? And that's how the film kicks off, because she gets pulled into the story. So it starts off promisingly because she's like isolated. We get to see her be vulnerable, which is why she was such a compelling character in Endgame, because that was like the first time we saw her vulnerable in the entire MCU. So it starts off promisingly, but then as soon as you meet her family, because they're not actually her family, they were part of the Widow program. It was like a cover. I don't know. As soon as you meet them, they're so much more interesting than her, and it feels like the movie knows that too. So it just focuses on them instead, and she just does nothing. She just fights and says like nothing. There are like a couple moments where she has a little bit of character work, but like this is her movie and she doesn't fucking do anything. And it just like the story just meanders, like the whole like her whole like old like widow family of David Harbour and Florence Pugh and Rachel Weisz. I don't know like any of these characters' names. Like the script does such a poor job of teaching you their names that like I just don't. I think one of them was named Melina, I think. Like by the time that they're all together again, the movie is like 66% over, like it's 2/3 over. And again, like it goes back to like, where did that runtime go? Why is the movie like halfway over and still the only characters on screen are Natasha and Florence Pugh? Like, what is happening? You got a waste of a Taskmaster. They completely changed Taskmaster for the movie, which is fine. Like I'm not a comic purist. Like you can change things as long as it works. They changed Taskmaster to be this woman that Natasha thought she killed when she was part of the Black Widow program. It was fine. Like I don't mind them changing Taskmaster to have like more of a personal connection to Black Widow, but like then use Taskmaster. You know? Like use her then. If you're gonna change her character entirely for the film. Use her. She doesn't get used. There's no fight scene between Black Widow and Taskmaster. There's like a 30-second one in the beginning of the film. You think there's gonna be one between Taskmaster and Red Guardian, and they keep fucking cutting away from it. Like the editing is bad in this movie, and I'll get to that. And then there's almost one at the end, like you think they're about to fight, and then it just ends before they can fight each other. And it's like Taskmaster is only cool when they're fighting someone. That's their thing. Taskmaster can look at someone and then mimic their fighting style so perfectly that they become, it's difficult to overcome them because it's like fighting the real person. You know? There's one moment where Taskmaster is seen watching footage of Black Panther fighting someone, and then it gets to like the fight between Taskmaster and Red Guardian, and Taskmaster like pulls out the claws like Black Panther, and you're like, oh shit, that's so cool. We're gonna see Taskmaster like mimicking all the Avengers during this fight, and then it cuts away from the fight. And then we don't see the fight happen. It's like, why did you do this? If you're gonna change the character, then use the character. Like, if you're gonna do all this legwork to get Taskmaster to work in your story, then use him her in the story. I'm glossing over and meandering through like the intricacies of the plot because like it doesn't fucking matter. The story, it doesn't matter. It's like, so we don't really learn anything new about Black Widow. She doesn't grow. She doesn't change over the course of the movie. Her family, her fake Black Widow undercover family does. David Harbour changes. Florence Pugh changes throughout the movie. Rachel Weisz's character changes throughout the movie. Black Widow doesn't. Guess what the movie's called? Black Widow! I feel like I'm going crazy, you know? And I know I'm tired, so that's why I'm just kind of rambling and meandering through this, but like, you made a Black Widow movie, and Black Widow's like the least important character in the movie. I don't know, man. Let's talk about the editing. Alright, I went... Oh god, I'm about to say a sentence that's probably going to make you wince. So I'm sorry in advance. I went to film school. Alright, and while I was there, I focused a lot, heavily on editing. I love editing. I feel like it's something that I'm half decent at. And this movie had really... Okay, I don't want to hyperbolize. I don't want to say it had really bad editing, because it wasn't. It wasn't really bad. It was just, there were some weird decisions. Decisions that, this movie got postponed a year because of COVID. They had an extra year to fine-tune this movie in post. They had a year to smooth out all those weird editing decisions but they're still there. They don't do parallel action very well, and I'm going to use that example I was referring to earlier with the fight between Taskmaster and Red Guardian. They're squaring up, they're about to fight, and then it cuts away, which happens a lot of times in action movies. If it's like an ensemble of characters, usually like they'll show the fight initiating, cut to something else, usually two characters talking and getting intense at each other, and usually they will do parallel action where the fight's happening and this intense conversation is happening, which is how they do it in Black Widow. Black Widow's having an intense conversation with the evil bad guy who doesn't matter. So proper parallel action would be show the fight starting, show that conversation starting, cut back to the fight, cut back to the conversation, cut back to the fight, cut back to the conversation. So you're drawing a parallel between those two things. Both of like the intensity of both scenes can feel amplified if you do it right. If you're cutting at those beats at the right moments, at the peaks and valleys of the intensity and the tension of those scenes, it can be done really, really effectively. But here, they show Taskmaster and Red Guardian squaring up. They cut away, 10 to 15 minutes pass, and then they randomly cut back into the fight where it's like, I like forgot the fight was happening, and then suddenly we're thrust into this mid fisticuffs between David Harbour and Taskmaster, and I was like, oh shit, right, that's happening. And it just felt disjointed. It just didn't work. And there are a lot of sequences in this movie that follow suit, where a scene will end too quickly or too abruptly. Even, like, this is a little nitpicky, but even, like, small things, like, there's a shot that's really, really dark. Like, it's nighttime, and the lights are dim, and Black Widow's looking at something, and it's really dark, and she's, like, squinting to see it. And then, bam, smash cut to an establishing shot of Budapest, and it's, like, bright daylight out, and, like, it was, like, singed my eyes. And it's like, you're the editor, like, you probably could have put something in between there, you know? Like, you didn't necessarily need to smash cut that establishing shot right next to that super dimly lit shot. It's just an unpleasant viewing experience for the audience. So yeah, it just felt a little disjointed. Another Marvel movie that I felt had the same issue was Captain Marvel. Had very similar editing, where it just feels a little choppy. It doesn't feel like there's that connective tissue that makes the movie flow. It just kind of like one scene will stop and then bam, another scene starts, and you're like, oh, okay, I guess we're doing this now. It's something that, like, you might not notice it consciously, but subconsciously you'll probably feel like oh, we're moving along kind of quickly. Like, I kind of feel like this is just going by and I'm not really absorbing a lot. That's how it felt. And that problem is compounded by a script that seems more interested in everyone except Black Widow in the movie Black Widow. It just kind of exists, If you're really, 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 really jonesing for MCU content, then by all means go ahead. But, like, you can skip this. Honestly. You can skip it. It feels on par with Ant-Man and the Wasp, where it's just there, and except for one crucial detail, the rest of the movie has no bearing on the MCU whatsoever and doesn't need to exist, and is just kind of there to, like, pad out the phases. That's all it is. I guess I'm going to talk about the post-credits scene now. It does connect to the rest of the MCU, so if you, like, really care about like MCU details and you want to discover this on your own, I'll see you later. But like, it's not a big revelation. It's not a huge thing. It's not like the Far From Home post credit scene. It's nothing like that. But I'll give you your fair warning. If you really really care, then skedaddle. But if you're like then it's fine. You can hear this. So it cuts to present day. Like I said, the rest of the movie takes place right after Civil War. The post credit scene takes place in like present day. Florence Pugh, Black Widow's sister, but not biological sister, but they're sisters essentially. She goes and she visits Natasha's grave because Natasha dies in Endgame. She goes and visits her grave, and at first I was very touched. I liked it a lot. I was like, this is a very poignant way to end the movie. So much so that I wish that it wasn't a post-credit scene. I wish this were like the actual end of the film. But then they bring out Valentina from Falcon and the Winter Soldier, who's assembling like her own like knockoff Avengers. If you've seen Falcon and the Winter Soldier, she started off with like the John Walker Captain America or Agent now, and she appears in the graveyard, and she talks to Florence Pugh, and she's like, "Hey, remember how I recruited you, and now you're a part of my squad?" And Florence Pugh is like, "Yeah," and she's like, "I have your next target. How would you like to get the man responsible for your sister's death?" And she shows her an iPad, and on the iPad is a picture of Hawkeye. So I guess that's going to be the plot of the Hawkeye show, is Florence Pugh hunting down Hawkeye. I'm sure it's going to be like, "Oh, you killed my sister." And then Hawkeye's going to be like, "No, I didn't. I tried to sacrifice myself and she stopped me." And then they're going to reconcile. I don't fucking know. I'm not going to watch it. I'm sorry. I'm not going to watch Hawkeye. It was almost like a touching, poignant end to the film, and then they just like shoehorned in. I don't know. I don't fucking care. Who cares? I don't know. Maybe you, if you're watching this, you probably care about the MCU. I probably pissed you off because I didn't care for this movie very much. For someone who saw Endgame and was like, "I think I'm done with the MCU now. This feels like a nice jumping off point. I think I'm going to stop now." This didn't make a good case for me to not jump off the train, you know? Falcon and the Winter Soldier was pretty good. And WandaVision was pretty good. Those made decent arguments for why I should still watch MCU stuff. This, nah. If the TV shows are going to be more interesting than your movies, maybe that's all you should do from now on. That's all I'm going to say. If I gotta rate it, if I have to rate this movie, it's a 5 or a 6. I don't know. For me, like 5 is like pure like mediocrity, middle of the road. Like, this is a mediocre movie, and 6 is like just above average. This feels somewhere in between. This feels like a. I don't know. Like 5 feels too harsh, but 6 feels too high. You know, so there you go. I'm not going to give it a 5 or a 6. I'm just going to say that and leave it at that. Again, if you really, really, really are itching for some MCU content, go ahead. I'm not going to say don't see it, but if you're not like a huge MCU fan, don't bother. I'm just going to say that. Don't bother. That's all. I'm going to go cuddle up in my blanket and get warm because I'm still cold and damp. Thanks for watching, and don't walk home in the rain.